We are moving on to a speaker that I am extremely excited about because I read the books and they were the first sales books that I ever read. And especially in SaaS, I started out in River and they told me to read these books. And of course, when you start a company, you think, will I actually? I did, and I'm grateful that I did because the lessons in there were incredible. I'm going to welcome onto the stage Aaron Ross, the man that revolutionized SaaS sales with his books Predictable Revenue and From Impossible to Inevitable, How Hyper-Growth Companies Create Predictable Revenue. Aaron is a dad of 10, which is a story in itself. A renowned sales advisor, an author and a speaker. And his topic, he's going to discuss here on stage together with Thomas and Daniel, is As Sales as We Know It, Dead. Please welcome onto the stage Aaron Ross.
I should probably know that.
I have an AC/DC shirt. I just actually didn't bring it, but.
All right. Who are we waiting to? Like the last time we were on stage together, like we started off like this, and then a few minutes in, there was a dance show. Like we had your boy Maddox with us, and he busted out some moves. You have Darcy with you today, one of your daughters, right? Darcy, can you stand up?
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, there she
hey,
is.
Darcy.
Hey. Darcy's 9. And Maverick was probably 11 or 12 a couple years ago. So I have 10 kids, and at some business trips, when it's like a fun or kid-friendly trip, I like to take them. There's a whole rotation. Yeah. I think the last time, a couple years ago with Maverick was the last
Mavericks,
one.
that's right.
Yeah. Because sometimes I'll go on a longer trip. Like I was in Brazil speaking this year.
And you have relocated from the US, right,
yeah,
to Europe?
Edinburgh. So it's like an hour flight to get here.
Yeah. That's great.
It was great.
Do they all fight? The kids were like, oh, Dad, you're going to a SaaSiest event? And it's like, me, take me.
No, people know of like who's next. Darcy's next, and there's Chloe's after that. So there's an order.
All right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Great.
Awesome. So
of course they do fight. Like, hey, can you take me to Brazil? Or can you take me to some? I'm like, no, it's too long of a trip.
They want to go, and we make a SaaSiest.
Sometimes I need a bit of my own time too. It's a rare thing at the house.
Awesome.
Okay. Cool.
So we're going to talk about sales today, and sales is, we heard that in the opening session from April, like sales is difficult, and some of you admitted to it, yes, it's difficult, and there was a bunch of people that said like, no, I got it nailed down. But it's tricky, like sales as we have known it has been changing and evolving, and I think that's probably a good thing. But, you know, many of us, maybe we should check here, who here has read Predictable Revenue? Please raise your hand. Like the ones that haven't, shame on you, like leave the room right away. No. I think for many of us, it's been a little bit like the Bible is how we set up, especially if you have an outbound motion, you specialize the roles, like, and in a very systematic approach. And it has worked for many of us. Like I've represented companies where it was like fantastic. But so many things are happening now with AI, and we're building communities and so on. Where are we with predictable revenue? TikTok, there you go. Like, let me ask you, like, I mean this in the best possible way. Is predictable revenue dead?
Well, so the Predictable Revenue book, and there's a sequel called From Impossible to Inevitable, that was more like a C-level book, growth book. But I'd say some of the key ideas, for example, like you said, specialize your people.
Right.
I know it's kind of a new thing. I'm probably older than it by now, sad to say it, than a lot of you, but it wasn't until 10, 20-ish years ago or before that, salespeople had to do all their own prospecting, closing customers, often managing their own customers, responding to their own leads. It's too much. So specializing your people, that's one big idea. That was probably actually the biggest idea to proliferate. Funnels like doing outbound, but having like a predictable lead generation process that drives growth, not just hiring more salespeople.
Right.
Again, some people might think, oh, duh. But it wasn't that long ago. That wasn't a duh. That was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And the third one is just different types of leads. Seeds, which are relationship-based, word of mouth. Nets, which would be kind of marketing. And spears, like outbound. So none of those, on LinkedIn, there's a lot of people who will say, oh, predictable revenue's dead, or like the SDRs are dead, or outbound is dead. And I mean, I get that. In my book, I put cold calling is dead.
Right.
And I knew I was being dramatic. And a lot of people, I hope they know they're being dramatic because it's not true. Predictable revenue, the model is not dead, and outbound's not dead, and SDRs aren't dead, and they're not being replaced by AI. And there's a lot of, I think, again, people, to be bold, you want to get attention, and so you got to make bold statements, which, you know.
Yeah. But that was actually my next question. Will AI replace SDRs or salespeople? And you already say no, so
Yeah.
why is that?
Well, what happens is it's not about predictable revenue being dead or AI replacing. It's like saying, this year we've invented a new color of blue, Tango blue. It's the best color blue ever. Old blue is dead.
Yeah.
Like, you're not killing old blue. It's still there. Now you have 2 blues or 1 million blues, right? So there's there's more models that are working. Like PLG, PLG's been around forever. It's just a new name for it. That works great for some companies. Sales-led works great for some. Outbound works great for some companies. It doesn't work for others. So it's just because there's more variety, it can be more confusing. We'll get to AI. It's kind of like coming out of college, 50 years ago. I'm going to add a fact to make the story better. It's kind of made up, but it's basically true. Maybe there was, a few dozen types of professions. You could be a lawyer, an accountant, a salesperson, a doctor, a shop owner, blah, 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 right? And so you could, had a digestible menu of what you could do. Or you could be, a dropout. Today, there's you could be almost anything. And it's confusing. It's like, what are you going to be? Oh, I don't know. And so there's a bit of what's going on in sales and marketing, which is like so many things can work. Everything can work. Will it work for you? That's the hard part. Like eating. Like how many types of eating systems, like vegan and carnivore and this and paleo and da-da-da-da-da. Like, should everyone be vegan? No. It's actually will be, my belief, unhealthy for some people. Might work great. Others, it won't. So it's the same thing with sales. Outbound, PLG, predictable revenue. It's so many options, but anything can work. I have a new book I'm working on with a guy named Matt Smith, and it's called The Income Operating System. It's more of a consumer book, just kind of laying out the pros and cons of, I feel like lots of people get stuck either in like, oh, I'm going to build a company and make lots of money that way, and I'm not going to do a job. Lots of people are in, like, I'm in a job, it's safe, I don't want to do a company. And some people do consulting, and just saying, look, if all these 3 things, there's pros and cons of each. Building like a business or investment, or part-time work consulting, which is a grind, I know, or a job. Like, there's great things about all of them. And the point I'm coming to is, this guy Matt's asking, what's the best way to build a business around this?
Right.
Do we want to do like events or like consulting or court? I'm like, fuck if I know. We got to pick something that we want to do, because they all can work. Like, what do we want to do? There's some things I do not want to do. I'm old enough to be like, I'm not fucking doing consulting. I will advise or work. I like writing, like speaking, and what do you like to do? And I'm like, so it's like sales, lead gen, and with AI, what I found so far is AI can work in lots of places really well. I'm not an expert in hands-on actually using it, because when I've used it and it's generating content, I'm like, it's okay, it's good, but it's not great. We drafted this book, he drafted a book using AI, and it's a good start, but I wouldn't buy it, I wouldn't sell it. It's like, it's not there yet.
So you mentioned that there are many different models
Yep.
to selling and other things. So what makes you succeed in the model that you choose?
What makes you succeed at life?
Yeah.
What kind of career have you picked? What kind of people are around you? Like, how do you kind of manage your energy? Are you staying in tune with what you're doing? Is it working? Because then stuff changes. The pace of the world is like the rhythm or the drum beats speeding up, right? So I feel like the chaos temperature of the world will only go up, because like as we get more connected and things changes just rocket around faster, what worked today, if it worked before, like for 5 years, now it might work for 2 years, and in the future might work for 6 months before you have to iterate it. So not so much having a predictable system, that might be important, but also can you stay in touch with it, because it's going to keep changing. It can be really frustrating too, right? But it's staying in tune with, again, like kind of who you are as a person, your team, and your company, and your customers. It's listening, not just with your ears, but also with almost, I don't want to say your body, but there's like a feeling, there's feelings as well. Like, does this feel right? When I'm hiring someone or a product, it's all these things to say, hey, are we still on the right track, or something different now? Mm-hmm. So what makes you successful is kind of picking a lane in a way and sticking to it. Like, if you said, hey, I want to create content, right? And I think founders and executives, like, one thing that's missing is founder-created, executive-created content, whether it's to the market or whether it's to your own people. Because, a lot of the text-based and AI-generated type content, which is easier to copy, there's so much of it, it's just commoditized. Right. And one thing that is harder to commoditize is your story, your actual stories. Besides a scary thing, AI, one thing I was really blown away with was someone I have a small team in Brazil, they took a sales video I'd done on some talk, and there's an AI tool that created a video, and I was speaking in Portuguese with the right lip movements, and it was close enough. I was like, oh yeah, that was 98%. Like, that is amazing. That job done, for sure.
Yeah. So Aaron, I'm curious a little bit here. There's a lot of revenue leaders and founders and so on here, and I know some of the folks you're helping out and advising. What's some of the common challenges that they come with you? Like, is there a common thread of all these people you meet, the CEOs and so on? So like, Aaron, I want to talk about XYZ. What are those things?
Everyone wants to talk about revenue growth, and I think the thing what I see my lens, and part of this comes from having a family for so many years, and a big family, and like, I've been through like an emotional smarts incubator hothouse, right? Like the teenagers and young kids, and having a marriage partnership, and so now I've just, at least to me, I see so much about how that is so fundamental towards everything. There's the tactics around, what email should I send, and should I do video? Okay, but there's something a bit deeper that I am much more aware of, and I see now, which is like executive energy. Right. So I'm on a couple small number of boards, and the CEO might be talking about hiring or fundraising, which are important, but I'm also thinking, this guy's like burned out, right? He needs to take a break. Right? One guy was looking, do I sell this company or not? Right. And I was like, first of all, talk to your wife, right? He checked all the boxes, right? Because that person knows him better than anyone else, and there's some things that your investors won't know, and that you don't know, and just to get advice on, does he think this would be good for him and the family and the team? Right. Because he has 2 kids as well, and it didn't work out. But it's kind of like, what are some things that we're not seeing in the search for what's the next solution? What's the answer I'm looking for? Is there something else we're missing? And because there's this thing either here at the conference or online, I call it fortune cookie advice, but where there's all these really simple answers that feel satisfying in the moment, right? You see somebody's post on Instagram like, drink 8 glasses of water a day, or 10 ounces of water 8 times a day. Like, that's your answer for water. Like, that's great. In the moment, it feels really satisfying. Include a piece of data with your story. That's so satisfying. But then you go back to your day-to-day life, you're like, why is this still so hard? Like, I got all these answers when I'm looking at my phone, or I'm at the conference, but I go back to my life, I'm just like, it's still so hard. So I think what people want that I see, and they come to me for, not that many people do, honestly, yeah. Which is fine. So which is fine, because I'm changing what I'm doing. They ask for revenue, and I'm like, yeah, there's all the answers are there, but like, what else are you missing? Because all the tactics are online. Like, there's no information online that isn't doable. Like, for sales techniques or marketing techniques, like, it's all there, but can you find it, and can you process it? So to me, the thing I really see missing, especially in the United States, I can't speak to Europe as much, in the UK, is this emotional intelligence and smarts to take all this information and a complex team and kind of process it and distill it, and still create also great connection to my team and customers. Right. Versus what typically is done is, I'm building a team, I'm building a market, and everyone's kind of a cog in my machine to make money. And I think that is dying as well, because people have more choices, teams have more choices, customers have more choices, more good choices. So why should I stay with you? Why should I work at your company? Why should I buy your product? Like, all the stories are important and features, but what's been missing too is this human connection of trust and bonding that we used to have more of when all the work tended to be in person. As it's gone virtual and as the content keeps exploding, it's becoming harder to tap into and connect.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. And I see the screens are blinking here at us, which is indicating that we're soon at the top of our hour, bottom of our hour. So I want to walk down a little bit and get some questions from people. But I want to ask you two more things.
One last, just directly, like AI will replace some types of sales jobs.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Lots of times it won't, or it'll be hybrid. But it's not like SDRs are going away or salespeople going away. And anyone who says that doesn't, either they're naive or they're just being overly bold and brash.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
Yeah.
Gonna take some time before we have robots walking down and mingling here.
At least a couple years.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. Michael, you're laughing. Let's see, like you're laughing, so you blinked, so we're gonna have to ask you, like, so if we can get this microphone going as well. Do you think, Michael, that AIs will replace salespeople as we know them?
I think Aaron's already said all about it, that it's obviously going to be a balanced approach. And some of those tasks, obviously, probably the more mundane and data-driven will be automated, but having the insight and the humanity to actually interpret it and implement it in reality is going to be the edge.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I totally agree with that.
So for your portfolio companies, do you guys tell them like, hey guys, we're going to do a workshop now, we're going to have a month here, we're all going to dissect and see and how we can start, beefing up your revenue exercise here with AI, or do you just leave it to them? Or do you kind of push this AI exercise onto them?
I'm sorry, you're way behind the curve down. We did this 12 months ago.
Oh, I like that. I like that. All right, let's see. Do we have any other questions for Aaron here? Like, Thomas, I don't know what we do with this crowd. They're like really chatty down there. We can't get them up here, but when we put them on the spot here to ask a question, they all look down in their phones.
It's a European-US thing. Like go to, again, like Latin America, Brazil, and it's like, Shah!
All right, in that case, thank you so much, Aaron. It was lovely having you here.
Yeah, and I'll be downstairs for a bit, hanging out.
We'll catch you one-to-one, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks, guys.